Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Jay and Menor substituting for the infamous Cleveland Kate, who is under the weather and she can't talk. that is that is something that everybody should be very grateful to hear, since Paul, being one of her sidekicks, as is Mark, these two guys will obviously get an opportunity to talk tonight. So, being that I am going to be the guest host on here tonight, we have a full crew. We have the infamous East Coaster, Mark Skog. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Okay, and let's see now. I think the near west side, we have the curmudgeon of Cleveland sports, one Marcus Seeley. Marcus, my man, how are you?
Good. How you gentlemen doing?
All right, and on the far west side, who had a beautiful opportunity 3 weeks ago, I think it was, to actually talk on a podcast, is the infamous Paul J.C. Paul Crowley. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing? You know what? I did get a chance to talk, but I was like kind of pissed drunk the whole time, so it was beautiful.
Paul, I listened to the podcast afterwards, and I would never have known the difference.
Really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it pissed drunk or is it normal? Or it's the same?
It's about the same.
Speaking of which, cheers, guys.
Well, tonight, doing our infamous show prep, which is chit-chatting before I was able to get my computer situated, we've come to the conclusion that we will have no uniform talk tonight. Is that correct?
Thank God.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I'm all uniformed out.
Okay, so I'll then just kick it off and open it up and say I'm watching the Cavs right now. They're playing basketball. That's about the extent of the game. They're resting everybody. LeBron didn't even get into the game, and so they're just getting ready, tuned up for the playoffs. What's your take on what the playoffs are going to turn out to be for our Cleveland Cavaliers?
I think that they're going to have a fairly easy run to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that the Celtics are going to be able to put up much of a fight, and I don't think they're really going to get tested till Atlanta in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know what to expect out of this team. You know, obviously LeBron's been there, and some of those bench guys who aren't contributing a lot have a lot of experience. But it'll be interesting to see how Kyrie and Kevin Love respond to this whole new atmosphere, because it is different. I mean, let's face it, playoff basketball is a very different animal than the regular season NBA, when so many guys are just going through the motions just to get there. So I'm curious to see how they're going to respond. Unlike a lot of others, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk to get past Atlanta if Atlanta makes it there. I think those Hawks I think that's a damn good team. And I think they play a style of basketball that the Cavs have struggled with. So I think it's going to be an interesting run to get to that point.
Well, unlike the other games during the season, you're playing the same team over a stretch of games where your adjustments have to be pretty much on the fly, because they're going to be looking, or each team will be looking at the other team in a real close scrutiny, because you know that whatever they do the first game, you have the second game, which in a matter, I think the way they're playing it is game off, game off, game off. I think it's almost, there's not a lot of break between actions, so your adjustments are going to be pretty much on the fly, and they have to, the coaching is going to come into play on how you make your adjustments going into your next game.
I'm interested to see how Atlanta deals with Indiana at the AC, because I think they could have problems with them. Most people like to remember last year that the Spurs got taken to 7 games by Dallas, and then they decided to sweep the next 2 rounds inexplicably. But that'll be an interesting matchup that I'm going to pay a little bit of attention to.
Your volume is going in and out, Marcus, just to let you know.
All right.
I'm not sold on a lot of people think that Indiana is a team. I think because of their experience and Paul George coming back, they could give some other teams trouble. I'm more down on them. I don't see. I don't know. You're right, though, Marcus. You're right. It will be an interesting matchup between that, but I think we'll find out very early on in that series on what Atlanta's going to be like and what Indiana's going to be like. I don't think it will be big swings in that. I think if Indiana can hang with them, they're going to hang with them right off the bat. And if not, I think Atlanta's going to have a fairly easy run at it through that.
Didn't Atlanta lose somebody to injury?
They did. They lost, I think it's Cephalosius to that weird injury. He broke his leg in that nightclub incident in New York City, which I don't know. I'm smelling lawsuit when the cops slam him to the ground and break his leg, and his statement that he and his lawyer put out the other day specifically fingered the police in that. That is an interesting side note to what will end up happening at the end of this season. But that really stinks. Who
isn't taking a shot at the cops nowadays, though?
Yeah, well, that's true. They're an easy target for him and his lawyer, but still, it's a little weird. I'm very curious what happened at that, but I'm sure we'll never really find out.
The thing with the NBA right now is that they went with the best of 7 for all the series, and I think that more than ever, chalk with the NBA kind of rides its way through. I mean, the first round of the NBA playoffs might as well be the first round of the the NCAA tournament. 16 versus 1 almost. I know that sometimes you get whatever, but the best of 7. I used to like the best of 5 because even if a poor team had a good game, they could steal 1 or 2, and then you never know. But like now that they went best of 7, it's almost like why even bother with the first round of the playoffs? And because with the NBA, half the teams make the playoffs anyway. It's just I don't know, it's mediocre. It's not gonna get interesting until you get to like the last 4 teams of each conference.
The opening round, at least in the NBA, there's a couple issues you have to take a look at. It's a 1 versus 8, but the 8th team may not be a bad 8th team. To disagree, like what you said, Mark, with Paul George coming back, people are saying they're instantaneously going to be a hard team to play because George is coming back, but he hasn't played for so long. There's going to be the acclimation of him getting back into basketball conditioning and shape, and it's a whole different ball game. Plus, you add in the aspect of the playoffs. Would Indiana be a formidable task for Atlanta? I think it's possible.
Yeah, but in 1 or 2 games.
Pardon me?
What I'm saying, though, is, yes, I agree with you, but I think they would be in 1 or 2 games. But my point was the best of 7, when you kind of like the team has to win 4 games instead of 3, now you got like Atlanta's a huge advantage over Indiana, where even with George, you think Indiana could steal 1 or 2, but in the best of 5, that kind of like you would think that would favor them a little bit. Not to favor the win, but that would at least make it a little more closer. And also, when was the last time an 8 seed beat a 1 seed in the playoffs in the NBA? I don't know.
That's a good point.
It's been a while.
It has been, yeah.
I think maybe about 7, 8 years ago, Golden State upset Dallas out west for one, but it was a long time before that. Yeah, I don't see that happening, especially in the East this year. Let's face it, there really were only 2 good teams in the East, and the Cavs being one and Atlanta being the other. There's some okay teams in there, but it's not like the West. That West is stacked. And the playoffs out west are going to be fantastic. All those matchups are going to be very interesting to watch. But I'm not complaining. I'm not somebody who is going to want the Cavs to have to suffer everyone's best shot. However they get there, that's all I care about. And I'd rather have an easy run through the East and try and get into the finals, and then have a difficult thing I'm not buying they need to be battle tested before getting to the finals. I think however they get there, they can get there, and I'll be thrilled with that.
Let me toss this out to Marcus. How much do you weigh? How much do you put in the credence that the West is so loaded that they're going to basically beat themselves to death getting up to the finals?
It's a hot topic that usually comes into play. The fact that I think that everybody likes to say that they're going to cannibalize each other. If a team, in my opinion, just my own personal opinion, a team like Golden State that's younger, I don't think would have much as an issue as a team like, for instance, San Antonio. I understand San Antonio's the veterans and they've been there, they know how to do it. They're still older. That's still a lot of minutes on both of those legs of those big three. That's my only point. So a younger team, I think the fact that they can go through it. And I also think to Paul's point about what is chalk in the NBA, by having a game and then 3 days off and then another game and then 3 days off, they allow all the stars to rest up. I'd almost like to see, they do the same thing in the baseball playoffs. Play it like a regular season. Game 1, Game 2, off day, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5.
Right.
And off day, Game 6 and 7. The fact that TNT and TBS can promote 40 games and 40 nights is a joke. That's just my own side tangent. But the idea of cannibalizing, I think it's relative to the roster. How deep are you? How big is your rotation? To be honest, if it were Cleveland, I don't know the fact that they'd be fresh come the finals. They're only going to run a 7-man rotation, probably. And if you had to go through 4, 5, 6, 7 games every round, I think that'd be problematic. But for a younger team like Golden State, less of a problem. Older team like San Antonio, because of the miles, and I understand they're playing phenomenal basketball right now, but it's difficult to assume that at some point in time we all keep waiting for the other two to drop that they're going to be too old. I don't know.
Well, I think that the grind I think this is kind of what you're saying also, Marcus. I think the grind does hurt the older teams more because, yes, the first round is a drawn-out mess. I mean, there's 2-3 days off between these games. But as the rounds go on, that rest time narrows, and you will get I don't think you get any – you might get a back-to-back, but I don't think so. But anyways, you get about 1 day off in between, and that stuff starts to wear on them, especially on the older guys. You'll start to see that. San Antonio, it's kind of amazing how well that they did last year because they had various guys on that roster. Some of the older guys, they didn't play that great because of injuries. Manu had a rough series last year in the finals, if I remember. And I think a lot of that is you get worn down through those runs in the playoffs. I'm a little concerned a bit with the Cavs in that regard, just because I don't think that they're very deep. We expected this deep team coming in this season. We're looking at all these vets that they signed. We thought, Mike Miller would be this spark off the bench. We thought, because he didn't play badly last year. But, I mean, some of these guys that the Cavs are –
Vlad stopped playing him.
Well, I don't think he showed a whole heck of a lot. And I don't know what they've got coming off that bench. Outside of the guys they picked up in the trade, I don't love a lot of the signings that they did. They're not really showing to be this huge thing. I mean, outside obviously of Love and LeBron, but once you get past that group of about 7 guys, the Cavs can be vulnerable. So injury, getting worn down, that's a problem. So I would love to see them be able to run through some of these early rounds by saving some minutes and really stepping on the gas early on teams like the Celtics and maybe Toronto in the next round and just end these games early and be able to get to guys some rest.
That's interesting because you have the infamous battle of youth versus experience, and San Antonio and Golden State's the prime example. Golden State being the defending champ, number one, an older team based on their roster, and then you flip that over to Golden State, where they've got all the young guns, the youth, the vitality, but not the experience that is going to be paramount when you get into the playoffs. And it's going to be interesting to see that from the West Coast viewpoint. East Coast, I agree with you, Mark, that unless Cleveland beats themselves in any game leading up to probably the finals against Atlanta, I'm not going to say it's going to be a cakewalk, but I don't see them going to no more than 6 games in any series they play. Probably, I'm looking at 5 with Boston, and then probably I haven't seen the seedings yet to find out who would they play coming out of Boston. Winner of what 2 teams then?
Well, it depends. I think that's still to be determined tonight.
Tonight, okay.
Right.
Yeah, so it's either going to be Toronto or the Bulls, it looks like.
Right.
The fortunate aspect of playing either one of those 2 is they have home court advantage over those 2, and that's going to be important also. Atlanta will have.
I hope to God we play the Bulls. I can't stand Chicago.
See, that's exactly what I don't want. Like, see, Paul's all ready to enact revenge. I would play the Little Sisters of the Poor so long as I can get on.
I don't bring on Milwaukee. Come on.
Yeah. I've got no demons that I need to exercise against the Bulls. Give me the easiest team possible to get on through. I got nothing to prove here.
Joakim Noah right in the face. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And tell him the fact that I got a casino, I got a winning baseball team, just not right now, and I hate Joakim Noah.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think what they should do is they should start Kendrick Perkins, and the first thing he does is just waylays Noah and just set the tone, and then have him walk off with a big smile on his face. He will get the crowd going, and it's on from that point forward.
Perkins is our handsome brother.
He's going to be foiling up.
Yeah, putting on the foil.
By the way, that is also my same theory on how the Indians should deal with Miguel Cabrera.
Oh, for God's sakes, you are so correct.
I mean, I don't know. It may be against the rules, but just hit him in the first at bat. Just nail him in the head, and then get rid of him for the series.
Just plunk him for crying out loud.
I mean, there's nothing fun about it. There's nothing honorable, but man, I can't stand to see that guy kill us.
Before you move to the Indians, I do have one question on the Cavs. Does it concern anybody the way the Cavs fall in love with the 3-ball?
Yeah.
And they go through cold streaks? They are god awful on offense to watch.
Yes, I'm not sold. I'm not 100% sold on our offense. We're a fantastic pick and roll team. We're great, but it is difficult to establish anything consistently in the low post, and we do live and die by the 3. Now, I will say Love, Kyrie, and LeBron create so many wide open shots that I understand why they play that way that they do, but it is difficult to sustain that all the time. They've done it in a regular season, but when you get to a 7-game series, teams can throw matchups at you, and matchups are a big deal in the playoffs. And so, yeah, seriously, Marcus, I'm worried about that. I'm worried about – see, all along I thought when they traded for Love that he would be a great focal point down in the post. And he's – but here's my thing. I mean, I watch him play, and I watch him get passes down in the post, and he just can't finish down there. And I don't think it's – yes, they're not playing him down in the post. They're using him out at the three-point line a lot to kind of spread it out. And it works. It's working. Let's face it, it's working. But it is a concern. I mean, and I thought Love would be able to, get some easy baskets down low and pass out of the post. And it just hasn't happened. And I am a believer that, A, he is hurt. And I think that's a big problem because he is not the same guy down in the post that we saw in Minnesota. He's just
little Skaggy.
They're saying hi to you, buddy.
Hello.
All right. All right. Good night, pal.
Good night.
No,
Sorry, guys. Little interruption there.
I apologize.
So he loves to see us when we podcast. He wants to sneak in every time. Anyways,
Was he wearing Seahawk Seahawk PJs?
No.
I thought green blue there.
The Cavs have come up. They're 61-60 after being down 17.
He has that's my son Alex. He has a Kipnis shirt, which should piss Marcus off. So.
At least they don't got a Pastano jersey.
Yeah.
I don't care about this. The guy's not on my team anymore. This is the city.
So I don't know where we were, anyways, guys. We got derailed there.
Well, Marcus wanted to do one thing before we went into the tribe, so I think he covered that part. So, all right, let's switch over a little bit and talk a little bit about the tribe. Pretty decent outing again by Bauer.
Love it. Love it.
You know what? 2-0. He's got 20 some strikeouts now already.
Probably about 50 walks too.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about it right now. But no, the walks today, he only had 3 walks, I believe it was. He went 6 strong innings. Pardon me?
And I said, do you want to know why? And this is my theory. He's working on his pitches. He openly talked about that in spring training, that when they told him he was guaranteed to be the 3rd starter, he was working on his secondary and tertiary pitches. I think he's still doing that, which is why he's walking people. But when he needs to put the hammer down, he's striking people out.
I think that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was impressive him getting out of that bases-loaded jam today. You know, I was listening to it on the radio and striking out guys at that point. I think you're onto something, Marcus, with that. I heard just a brief interview with him after the game, and you know, he sounded very confident in what he was doing. He seemed to know that he could, you know, his goal today was to put in some innings, to give some relief to the bullpen. And he seems like a guy, we know he doesn't care about throwing a lot of pitches, you know, and I think that's pretty cool. I think that's good. I think he's got a lot of confidence in his arm that he can go out there and get it done. And I'm curious to see as the season goes along if they treat him differently as far as pitch counts and let him go longer, especially with his strikeout stuff. I mean, is he going to end up racking up some bigger pitch counts, and is it going to affect him? I think that he might be able to kind of be the exception to the rule in that regard.
I think what they're looking at, and you know, Marcus had the great point about he's working, and I agree, and I also heard that conversation where he said that, and you know, following up what you said, Mark, on the fact of them being Francona and McAllister, maybe giving him a little bit longer, a little higher pitch count because of his, I'm going to say his work ethic and the way he presents himself and everything else. I think they're willing to go with him as long as if he's getting the strikeouts, and that'll offset some of the walks, and if he does fine tune his secondary pitch and where he doesn't have to rely on his fastball to be the portion of his repertoire that he relies on heavily, then that opens up more opportunities for him to go longer because he's not throwing as hard, and he's offsetting some of the fastballs with his changeup, with his I think he's got a curve that or a screwball he's trying to work on, so he has more than one pitch. This way he can go a little bit longer, and that's the problem with McAllister. McAllister obviously has got a dead good high 90 fastball, but he doesn't have that secondary pitch that he can change up on a batter in, because everybody says you throw a fastball enough and every Major League Baseball hitter will hit the fastball.
Are you guys worried about the back end of the rotation? I mean, I know it's a week.
No.
All that stuff stipulated.
Back in the rotation, Mark, you and I talked about back when you and I were texting when they signed Floyd, and I explained to you off of Twitter, because I went off on Twitter, and you texted me, you're like, where's this coming from? And I explained it. I've been worried about it since December, and I actually want to get Crowley's opinion on this, because I know he's probably got some interesting thoughts on it is just when you continue to do the bargain basement shopping for 40% of your rotation. I'm not saying spend big dollars, but I mean, I don't know. Help me out here, Paul.
I 100% agree with you. The Indians have been, and this has been shown even in the 90s, that the Indians are an organization that they rather be lucky than good. The Indians continually want to save money and be at the bottom of the payroll and have guys like, right now, like Bauer's had a good outing, and, you know, so right now they're like loving that because he's making nothing. And they've always done this. Like, I just lost my train of thought here. I was looking at something else. Or it might be the Manhattans I've been drinking. Anyway. No, but the Indians have always been that, like, they're that roll of the dice team. They're back end, front end. Who knew 3 years ago Kluber was going to be the guy he is right now? They've gotten lucky with everybody who's come through the organization, especially with pitching. They don't pay for anyone, and they just kind of get guys who come through, and they just get lucky with them, and they pay a minimum, and then trust me, half these guys who, if they become something, are going to be signing with someone else once their contract is up. You know.
Kazmir, Carl Pavano,
Yeah.
Kevin Millwood. There's three guys they signed to a one-year deal who later had productive years elsewhere. Millwood kind of got roughed up in Texas, but Pavano and Kazmir went on to some pretty decent numbers, some pretty decent years. So you're spot on.
Kazmir is doing phenomenal in Oakland, man. That guy is like, he's still with Oakland, right?
Yeah.
That guy.
We needed a legitimate lefty, and I understand that $30+ million is expensive, but he was the one guy I wanted to keep. The one guy that year. So.
Kazmir? Oh yeah, I agree with you on that. The other aspect of it too is I'm actually pretty pleased that they locked up both Carrasco and Kluber the way they did. And two things that stood out. One, both of those guys wanted to be with the organization. They were not really all that in tune about going out and getting the big bucks. They were happy in Cleveland, and they got lucky. They got two quality guys, obviously because they are later in their careers getting into the starting rotation. Cleveland's got them over a barrel. I mean, Cleveland could have renewed both of them for 4 and 3 years each before they even had to worry about paying them anything. And by that time, they're going into their 30s. They're gambling that they're going to have a big year when they're able to then hit the free agency or go to arbitration. Whereas Cleveland said, okay, look, we agree that you deserve more, and we're going to give you more, but what you're going to give up are some years. I'll be honest with you, I did not think they were going to sign Kluber to a long term this year. I thought it would happen.
Either.
I thought it was going to happen off season.
Does the heart condition of Carrasco, which is the reason why the story that's come out is the reason why he signed. He wanted the guaranteed money, even though his agent and the players union, and I'm surprised the players union didn't force his hand, because the baseball players union is the most powerful union in like all sports, more so than the NFLPA wishes the fact that they had the power of the baseball players union.
Oh, absolutely.
And
what were you saying about the players union with Carrasco? Because I didn't catch part of that.
He signed the contract, and it was against their advice because he had that non-invasive heart.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think he realized that he couldn't gamble on something maybe not being major, but he wanted to get the guarantee right now. And that was one of the times where the player told the union, told the association, I'm doing it. I don't care what you want me to do.
It is so rare. Marcus is right. It's so rare that happens in baseball. That union will lean on guys to try and get the best deal possible because it just continues on for other players. I remember way back when Tony Gwynn took a hometown discount out in San Diego, and I know the union was pissed at him for doing it. They were really mad that he did it. You know, they wanted him to try and ratchet up salaries for everybody else by taking the biggest deal he could get. Right. So, no, I'm with you, Marcus. I'm surprised the union didn't lean heavier on him for that deal. I think, now granted, we're assuming the development that Carrasco showed at the end of last year continues, to justify that contract. If it continues to the degree that it did at the end of the last year, the Indians got a deal. They really did. And so I think that'll be nice. I mean, the Indians are really banking on that.
How come no one's harping the Indians when they let Masterson and Ubaldo go?
To the point, a lot of people have sung the praises of Ubaldo, but as opposed to saying they let him go, to your point, John, everybody's saying, look how great Mickey Callaway is to what he did with Masterson, or what he did with Ubaldo. So, as opposed to giving credit to Shapiro and Antonetti, they're giving it to Mickey Callaway for actually having hands-on work done. Justin Masterson fired his agent yesterday.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Offered $14 million a year, and you're $3 million apart. That $3 million over the life of the contract could be the cost of living difference between Boston and Cleveland. What are you doing? So, you just successfully wasted. One more thing about your hometown discount, Mark. Think about the time that when the Indians were trying to re-sign CC Sabathia, and I got really excited for about 4 seconds. Jake Peavy takes a $72 million hometown discount with San Diego for $19 million. Carlos Zambrano takes a $19.6 million hometown discount with the Chicago Cubs. There was a thought that somewhere between $18 and $20 million, and I think they came in at about 18. I don't remember the number that they offered. I think they offered Sabathia 72, but there was a thought that Cleveland could procure and keep Sabathia because those two players, Peavy was a Cy Young in 07. Zambrano, I believe, was the runner-up. So they were both coming off of great years. They took hometown discounts. There was a small sliver of hope that we could get our guy too. And the union was just CC Sabathia got an extra $21 million from New York because he said he was going to go visit the Dodgers.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how big it is. You just say that you're going to go visit Ned Colletti at the time over in LA because you're from Vallejo, California, and they're like, okay, here's an extra $21 million. Like,
right.
It's a bunch of garbage, but that's the way the system works.
Yeah.
Paula, you're awful quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was actually I was trying to get my taxes all finished up real quick, so because we got about 2.5 more hours before that shit's due. No, I'm joking. No, not to change the subject. I was texting someone, a friend I've known forever passed away, and
oh, I saw that. My condolences. I saw you were pretty shocked about that.
No, thank you. And I had no idea how or what happened to him because he was only 40, and I've known him since the day he was born. And somebody who knew was just giving me the inside of whatnot. But so what we're talking about is how the three of us look really good in beards, right, Jan?
This is just temporary. I've been doing a lot of work at home.
So if you watch us very closely, every once in a while you'll see us do one of these because we're stroking it for wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What do you stroke for wisdom?
Oh, God.
Question.
Well, when I stroke, doesn't take much time to do it. Okay. and my knee is fine there, Scott.
my old man knee's so cranky now. I've named it now JN. It's my JN knee.
Hey, not to change the subject really bad. What was the reason for England? Was that a vacation or?
Yeah, my sister-in-law lives there, and she's lived there
Okay.
for about, I don't know, a good 15 years or so now. So we flew on over for 2 weeks. It was really nice. Stayed with them. Their kids are the same age as my kids, and so we get together with them about once, maybe twice a year. But my brother-in-law works for British Airways, so they fly over here all the time because they can fly for free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, basically for free. But then, so our kids get along really well. So we went over for 2 weeks and just toured around London for a number of days, hit the countryside. It was really nice. I've been there before, but it was great to take the kids so they can finally see stuff and experience a whole new place.
Was this their first trip overseas?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that
So-
would be fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think they really enjoyed it. Of course, I was so jet lagged when I came back. My whole internal clock was off for days. It was really hard. But we had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Good. All right. Now, the tribe.
See, he's stroking his forehead. He's like, I don't have a beard, so.
And I don't have much hair either.
Well, that's why I wear a hat.
You were talking. Speaking of hats, I've got the gray with the Chief Wahoo on it, and you wanted to find because you bought the gray with the C because you couldn't get the gray with the Chief Wahoo, right? Wasn't that your excuse?
Well, they didn't. Well, I'm a fan of the C. I like the C. I'm not against Chief. I'm not against Chief Wahoo. I'm not for Chief Wahoo. I'm not against Chief Wahoo because of the Indians being against Chief Wahoo. I just think Chief Wahoo is a silly cartoon character. That's my personal opinion. But no, they didn't have it. But they actually it's on the back. I mean, it's there.
Okay.
But it's they didn't actually have it, but they had the C. And I noticed they had two styles: my style, which is a little firm, and Mark's style, which is more of a loose, like kind of like a. You know what I mean? Like a loose, like more of a workable hat,
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it. Those are the kind of hats I like.
Yeah, and I used to wear those a lot, but I asked my wife to pick the hat for me, and she'd rather have a stiff one, so.
God.
Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing.
I'm talking about my hat.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
Yes, we understand, and if Melissa was there, we could verify that you are talking about your hat.
Your hat. That's all it is.
Right.
Just the hat.
Just a hat.
Just the hat.
By the way, Paul, that was pretty nice of the Indians to do that panoramic picture. And
yeah, actually, I was sipping on a beer like through the entire game, and I'm actually shocked. It was a 50-50 chance that they caught me without
I know.
slurping on a beer.
And they happened to get it when Flu was leaving, and I was standing up, so it was pretty easy to catch that and check it out.
You know what? I actually made a comment to Melissa about that too. If they would have taken that picture like 10 seconds earlier, they would have caught me and Flu in a little bro hug embrace, like talk to you later, you know.
Or else they would have caught Flu talking to Richard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, Flu was pretty well lubricated, and we had this usher that was there, and he was very outgoing, and he, for whatever reason, he was taking copious notes during the game. I have no idea if he was keeping score or what have you. So between innings, he would come down. Well, he had this big burly mustache that was very, what I can say is, Flu was infatuated by it, and started talking about mustache rides in the segment of the fans we were sitting with, and he had to get a picture of him. So he would get him up here, but Flu couldn't get the picture taken on his phone. What, 3 or 4 times, Paul? Eventually, he finally got him to do it, and the couples. There were a couple people sitting behind us who they were really hilarious. They were dying in laughter, and Flew had no regard whatsoever what he was saying out loud, and it was pretty good between inning entertainments that Flew was conducting that day. Obviously, that was a highlight of the opening game for us, which is a sad commentary on the way they started the season. And you know what? I saw something today. I think it was today. When was the last time Cleveland started at home with 4 losses?
1987.
After the...
Yeah.
86 was the bad year, though, wasn't it?
Well, 86 was the bad year, but 87 they had Carter and whatchamacallit on the SI cover, and they started the season losing the first 4 games at home.
Yeah, 87 was the SI jinx year.
Yes. So hey, what do you? So where do we go with the Tribe now with the injuries? With you're really, I can't hear you.
Stick a fork in them, they're done.
You think so?
Yeah. Because
so early.
You can't absorb the losses of Michael Brantley, and that's going to linger all season. You cannot absorb the losses for 2 months of Yan Gomes, not only as your pure 5 hitter, right-handed pure 5 hitter,
right,
but also your catcher. I understand the guy whose name escapes me.
Perez.
Yeah,
Perez.
He's good behind the plate, and I read an article saying the fact that the pitchers gave him a lot of trust last year, but he's not Gomes. Gomes went with Kluber to pick up his Cy Young Award. So you have Gomes out for 2 months. You have Jason Kipnis, who's a poser. You have Michael Brantley, who's going to have a lingering back issue all season. Those are 3 of your best players. I honestly, I'm not overreacting when I sit there and say I do not think that they can sustain these losses.
Where do you think they have to be standing-wise by the time we'll use Gomes because he's the one who's got the longest schedule out there, disability. Where do you think they have to be by the time he comes back to even have a chance at making a run for the playoffs?
Who are you asking?
Anybody.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'll take this. I would say they have to be around 500, but with like what Marcus was saying with Brantley and Gomes and now Carrasco's probably going to have a miss. Well, he probably only missed 1 start. But
no, he's scheduled for Monday. They just pushed him
is he
back
really?
today.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Brantley's injury is one of those injuries like Marcus kind of touched on. It's his back. It's not like his elbow or it's his back. And being like an outfielder and being like with his swing and all that, that's huge. You know, even if Brantley does play, he's not going to be the same Brantley. And I don't want to say it's an SI curse, but I think that people, and me included, because on our last podcast, I think I overestimated the Indians, but now that I'm really seeing them, I don't think they're as good as, even if these guys weren't hurt, I don't think they're as good as people are saying, but at the same time, now your key players, Gomes, like what Marcus says, was a right-handed bat hitting in the 5 spot. He's out. Brantley's out. That's like probably about 50% of your production on the offense.
Take off another 3 and 5 hitter from any team and see how well they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sad part of this is the dependency that everybody had on the key players, and they are not in the lineup, is going to either expose or force their backups or their replacements to produce at a level the replacements have never produced. Not to say that they have to produce the same way Brantley and Gomes did, but they're going to have to be better than what they were. They normally would produce. So they have to increase that just to keep treading water, so to speak.
Right.
And Brantley's, and I've got the bad back, and I know what it's like.
Wait. Are you comparing yourself to Brantley?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
Because I don't think Brantley ever fell out of a house to hurt a back, so I'll just leave it like that. But it's one of those things that.
You're not a 27-year-old black man.
No, I'm afraid not.
All right.
But I could literally go for years, and then one day turn out of bed or turn some way, and I'm gonna be a basket case for 2-3 weeks. And the only thing you can do is literally rest it. And because even the doctor told me, he said, I would have been better off having a broken back that they could have operated on than to have the compression of the vertebrae that I sustained that didn't warrant surgery. So his phrase to me when I was in the hospital was good news, bad news. Good news is you didn't break your back. Bad news is you're going to have a bad back the rest of your life. And I was 31 when as a firefighter, that's what happened. So it's everybody who's ever had a real major back problem, they will tell you the only thing that you can do is rest, complete rest. And if this lingers with him, where they're saying he's going to play Friday, I would rather them put him on the 2-week DL, let him totally relax, get the therapy like LeBron James did when he had the back problem, and he took that 2-week hiatus and comes back as healthy as possible under the circumstances. Yeah, you can lose a division in the first month of a season. You can't win a pennant in the first month, but if this is going to be a division that is going to be open for any team between Cleveland, Chicago, and Detroit to make a run at it, let them sit. Let them sit. Get as healthy as possible without going into a long duration.
Here's another problem though with the Indians. They have never won attendance awards since the 455 streak. Since then, they're pretty much at the bottom of the attendance thing. This also brings up the question of, are they going to bring up Lindor too soon? You got like your key people who attract people to the park are out, and might be out for a while. And so now it kind of brings the question. I know Lindor and Jarrett Wright are two different positions, but back in '97, they brought Jarrett Wright along a little too fast, and you see what happened with that. But the Tribe is also in that position where this can like tailspin, and it's about the tailspin where they're going to be in last place, and they're horrible with attendance to begin with, and with all those renovations that they just, for all that money they just poured into all that, you're going to be not bringing them into the park to see what crap team.
You know what? I'm not. I just, for the life of me, I can't get into the attendance issue with any Cleveland team, because it's a discussion that goes nowhere. You talk about the Browns fans who will pack in the stadium for 8 games a year, and they say it's different because it's 1 game a week and it's only 8 games during the year, versus you have 81 opportunities to go see an Indians game. They're
Right.
played a whole bunch period of time. I think at this point, and maybe I'm wrong, but I look at the Dolans and Shapiro and the hierarchy right now of, they're a little bit concerned about what the attendance is, but I don't think they're going to focus on attendance being the savior and the key point of the organization. I think they're looking at having tremendous success on broadcast, which they are. I mean, they're yearly ratings are increasing every year for the last 5 years. So the interest is out there. I give them credit for trying to do something unique with the right field. And Marcus, you haven't been there. It is really impressive what they did out in right field.
It actually really is awesome. It's awesome.
It's going to be a real interesting spot. You can buy a ticket, and you're able to go into that area. And it is really awesome to go in there and just walk around. It's almost like you're at a bar, and instead of having a flat screen, you've got the live action right there in front of you. Wouldn't you say, Paul?
It was first of all, like, not the opening series against Detroit because it was open for everyone to go check it out, but during the season it's going to be $13. I feel like I'm working for the Indians. I'm giving their advertisement here, but there's like 3 levels. There's like the bars and this and that, and you got there's a glass wall, and I guess I didn't. It was closed at the time, but they said that if it's nice out, they open up.
Right.
And that also provides you an area where there's a standing room only, and it's leveled, like big long like stairs. It's leveled with a rail in front of you to put your drink, and you're not looking behind people. You have your own view.
It's tiered. It's like a cinema theater, but standing.
And it's $13 to do that. It's like standing room only for $13, and they said that your first drink, whether it be the standard domestic beer, Pepsi product, or water, is free on that ticket. So whatever that costs. So basically, you're looking at to hang out there to watch a game for like $7.
Yeah.
I mean, not to mention what you spent there, but.
And the visitors' dugout, Marcus, I bet you bottom dollar one game you're going to plant yourself right over the visitors' bullpen. And I said dugout, but it's a bullpen. That is really an awesome spot to watch a game.
I had heard some local radio talking about how close they could affect the visiting bullpen during a game because how close you are. So it'll be interesting.
You can go up to the railing, and you could be hanging over. You could hang over the railing and look into the visitor's bullpen. And when a guy is warming up, you could probably be what? Did you go back there, Paul?
I saw it from where we were sitting. But
okay. I went there and I stood there, and you're probably going to be 20 feet from where the pitcher's warming up. That close.
At the furthest, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really impressive. It's a nice view of the standing there and just watching the game and seeing all that. I got to give them credit. They did some unique things with a little bit of fanfare, but not a whole heck. And I know there's some people who were upset about the way the upper right field looked with the cream and the green and however they've got that. Hey, you know what? If they win. And if they win, everyone's going to enjoy it.
Here's the way that this town works. Did we lose Mark, by the way?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he sent me a text. This is about 20 minutes ago. He said his internet cut out, so he's just going to talk to us later.
Oh, okay.
And, so it's kind of nice to know, hey, Mark, if you rewatch this, it took these guys 20 minutes to know that you're gone. So you're
I saw I was gone.
so you're a very vital part of this conversation. Well, thanks for your input. Oh, by the way, Mark also told me not to make any cracks about him, and just to be fair, because I did my impersonation of Chris Green, I'm gonna do my Mark Skog, okay, real quick. And it works nice because I got the same hat as him.
Okay.
All right. Here's my Mark
ready?
Skog. Yep. Ready, Marcus? This is Mark Skog today. And he kind of has that off to the side. See that?
A little profile look. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, my Chris Green and Mark Skog impersonation is pretty much the same one. But I only have one, so
it's okay.
That's all I got.
When I don't have a problem with the Indians going back to the right field corner. I don't have a problem with them changing or trying to either target the younger crowd, the young professionals, to have an area to which they can cheaply have a drink, hang out with their friends, and then leave if they want to. You don't have to stay for 2-3 hours if you didn't want to. You can come in, leave. $13 is nothing, and you get a drink, as you pointed out, Paul. It makes it very cheap to get in, get out, and be done. I think that in the long run, changing some of the games to 6 o'clock will benefit them in terms of, I work downtown myself. I work 93 blocks from downtown, but it's difficult to get out at 5, go home, change, and then go all the way back downtown for a game and get with enough time. So I think doing that will keep the young professionals downtown. You add a $13 ticket, and literally they can be like, hey, let me go spend $13 to essentially go get a drink, maybe a second one, hang out, boost some numbers. It's the issue with the attendance really never gets to me, just because the one thing that I could say about Shapiro was he had said that during this offseason, the way that the game was watched in 1994 when they built Jacobs Field versus the way that the game is watched now in 2015 with Progressive Field obviously has changed. HD versus standard definition.
Yes.
And just the idea of baseball fans being 20 years older, 15 years older, that makes a difference when you're talking about a target market. So it's easy to sit at home and watch a baseball game. The restroom lines are shorter, the beer is cheaper, just as cold, and you can actually hear stuff going on. More passionate people, I think, more big-time fans will go actually physically to the ballpark because that's what they enjoy. Mm-hmm. But baseball fans still watch games, and the television numbers show it. It's unfortunate the fact that the Dolans, right or wrong, that's a podcast for another day, will never get either the credit or the true criticism that they deserve. Because they don't deserve all of their cheap problems, but they also don't deserve some of the accolades of, I think, what was the one thing Bart Swain was talking about? Maybe he was talking about in like a 3-year stretch, they had won like the 3rd or 6th most games in all of baseball, yet they'd never been in the playoffs. We're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Argue yourself more appropriately. And I think the problem is, and I'm harsher on the front office more than probably anybody I know. When you fail at your core competency, which is to draft players and sign players at an equitable value for a quote-unquote small market team, then you fail. And Chris Antonetti, to me, has failed. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with Antonetti for as long as I have Francona and Shapiro, unless Shapiro decides to leave. So that's my issue, is the fact that I'm stuck with this 3-headed monster when really I only want one of them. And when you fail at 2 very large components, then that's your biggest issue. Because the Minnesota Twins for years, Tampa Bay Rays for years, the Oakland Athletics for years, the Pirates were awful until Neil Huntington got there. Because he everything that the way that they did. And you can even take a look at O'Dowd, who Huntington and O'Dowd both came from Cleveland.
Right. Yep.
Went to Colorado. He was there for 15 years. Was instrumental in guys like Troy Tulowitzki and basically the run that Colorado had for years during the 90s and 2000s. Like, if you do not change and do well the things that are necessary for your market, you're going to fail. Except in this case, you have individuals who have such job security, they don't need to worry about it, and that's my biggest issue as a fan. I don't have a problem with the Dolans being cheap. I realize the fact they're not going to spend money, and when they do, it's going to come in cycles, like $39 million coming off the books when half are in.
For sure.
And so when you have $39 million coming off the books and you spend 30 of it, the fans are going to get happy. You spent it wrong. You spent it improperly. And it's just, people need to be held accountable, and because of this triangle of garbage, they're not going to be. So basically, you're not going to see the Indians spend big money, and by big, I just mean relative to what is big for them, not big for baseball, but big for them. You're not going to
for them. Yeah.
You're not going to see it until the last year of Bourne and Swisher's contract.
Which is next year?
No, they have 2 more.
They got 2 more?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, 2 more including this year. So they have the vesting option for the 5th year, which is only 350 at bats, which is easily vestable if they
Right.
play. That's the biggest concern.
Okay, so they got this year and next year. So next year is the key year where they literally going to be coming off the roster.
If they don't have the vesting option is not like it's not a mutual option. It's vesting based on plate appearances, not at bats. Plate
Okay.
appearances. 350 is easy to acquire.
So
You have
unless they somehow or another work the most magical deal and they're gone via trade or what have you, you're looking at those 2 contracts hanging around for 2+.
yes.
Okay. You know, I'm gonna come back to what you said about the downtown young people and what they've done. You say you get off of work at what, 5-ish, somewhere in that time period?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, so you're traveling out to Seven Hills. I don't want to reveal that, but Seven Hills. I'm
What's
a
the address?
menopausal. Yeah, what's the address? We'll put that in the bio of the broadcast. But
Lane.
you've got a good point, because they opened the stadium at 5:30, I think, and now they've got different types of food. So, if you're downtown
Dinner.
and exactly take in dinner, take in a game. Yeah, the true fans like the 3 of us, we're going to stay there for the whole game, but the casual fan is what they're trying to attract, where they're going to come down, give them a reason to try it. They come in, grab a bite to eat. They don't have to leave from, they have to, like you do, Marcus, have to make that journey out home to come back downtown. And then they're thinking, maybe they're going to latch on and find us pretty interesting. Somebody was talking to me where they were really down on the fact that they made such a big deal on the kids side of it, and I really was totally a different opinion. And Marcus, you're going to witness this in the next few years, as I did with Ryan. Obviously, Ryan and I love baseball as father and son. He played it, he followed it, he learned the game from me. But when I first took him there,
Is that why he throws like a girl?
no, that's like his mom. Now, I have nothing to say on that. I was never. I mean, that's why I call him E5. He played third, and he definitely embarrassed me playing third. So if you ever want to get under his skin, just tweet out E5, and he'll know what it's a reference to. The thing that was interesting and was really enjoyable as a parent, I could take him to a game, and the ticket cost wasn't all that great at that time. And for the first couple of years with a young one, you can bring them in, and they don't charge you as long as they sit in your lap. And he got the excitement of being there. And then when he got a little bit older, where he started playing the game and understanding it, his attachment was there. And that's what they didn't have in the 90s, because there were so many games, the sellouts over the 4 years and everything else, and then when they ended it, it was just like everything dropped out. They missed the generation. And now with the generation that's so social media, I would say crippled to some extent, where they're on their phones, tweeting, Instagram, fantasy baseball, checking their stats. They have to have that link to bring the youth in to keep the flavor going.
That Wi-Fi service.
Yeah. Well, I heard people said they were really upset because they're not Verizon. I had no problem whatsoever all game long. I had great link because they put in Verizon put in big towers on the stadium. Now, I'm not going to say it's just because it's Verizon, but yes, they have to make that a better they have to facilitate that much better for the fan. So if you put all of that together, where you have a fun time experience for the kids, but the parents who still want to keep an eye on the kids, an eye on the game, they're able to do that, and the kids enjoy it, where they say, hey, Dad, I'd like to go back again, or Harper goes to Marcus, say, Daddy, come on, take me to a ball game. You know, I got my pink glove ready to go. You know, they're going to do that, and they're going to build that. What? Shake your head. No pink glove?
No. Nope.
But you know, I give them credit for trying. The worst thing they can do is at least not try and let that area be dead.
They
The
did
Indians,
thousands.
the Indians have done above and beyond everything they can do to make that stadium feel comfortable and attractive for people to come and watch the game. What you're saying, JN, was with that new section, and even like they even have that kids club where they have TV showing the game in there, and the kids are because my daughter, who's 8 now, her first game, I took her to the Indians game for her first game when she was barely 3 years old. She can only sit through 2 innings at the time, and they had a small section at the time of something to go there, to occupy her for a couple minutes. But this kids club they have now is the kids are, it's not just a play area, it's a place where they can play. They're playing on a diamond, and the things that they're playing with are things to gear them towards learning about the game.
Yes.
So just because your kid wants to not watch the game, they're going to be in there, and the game's going to be on for you, and they're going to be playing with things that are kind of geared towards baseball. But that's 100%. That's 2 thumbs up for the Indians for doing all that. Part of me though is the state of baseball in the next 20 years. It's terrifying. I actually, and as you guys are the same, the old municipal stadium didn't have a little fun play area for us to go play. My dad took me down. Here's what was Paul Crowley's fun time, was Dad drinking and teaching Paul how to keep score. So after the 5th inning, when he got too liquored up to keep score, I kept score for the rest of the game. So every game I've ever been to, there was no screwing off and looking at what other people are doing. I had to watch every pitch, and I had to know what I was doing for all this. But you know what? That's that's another time. You know, kids need to be. This is the age where, and I'm included on this. Half the game I was looking at my phone and tweeting stuff out, but you know. We're an age of idiots now, so what are you gonna do?
Well, that's why I said, sometimes it's the cell phones and social media is more of a crutch at times, and it is something that's helpful, and we allow ourselves to do that. I know Linda has gotten over me many times about put the damn phone down. I told her, I said I could go out to dinner, and I left the phone in the car, and she said. She saw there was something strange going on. I said, what's the matter? She goes, you're sitting here having dinner and you're talking. I said, yeah, I put the phone in the car. I could do it when I have to. If I don't want to,
listen, I cannot crap without the phone on my hand. I have to have my phone with me when I go into the bathroom. Back in the day, we used to have magazines and newspapers.
You just cleared the room because Marcus has left the stage.
Listen, by the way, that's a very nice pattern on his chair, his recliner. But listen, if I'm tweeting you at there's 2 things. If I'm tweeting at you about something, or if I'm playing you with Where's Your Friends, and it's an odd time, I'm in the bathroom.
You're in the can.
I'm in the can.
Well, you know what? My best thinking is in the loo, and I wish as Mark was here because I would say in the loo, which the Europeans call the shitter, and I'll call it the way we call it here in America. Well, my God, it's almost quarter after 10. That was a long little podcast, but I think it went well. I I don't know.
Never talked about the uniforms either.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Thank goodness.
Props
Um,
to us.
like I said, you can dress up a pig, and a pig is still a pig. So
Right.
here he is. Um,
I heard you making fun of the pattern. That's not my fault.
Oh. I really wasn't too sure how far you walked away.
I went to the bathroom to take a leak, but I could still hear you.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't take your phone like Paul does.
I take my phone.
That's exactly why I left.
All right. Well, it's going on 10:15, and since this was more of a makeshift lineup of me and Marcus, and the only true regular was Paul, and we had Mark for a small time, and Paul did his infamous Mark Skog impersonation. I'm just wondering the next time, and there goes Marcus with a little bit. I'll do the look. I wonder what Paul will do when Marcus, you and I are not here. So, Paul, we'll leave it up to you to do the to get it down pat.
I will be working on my impersonations. I won't say who I'm doing next, but each time I'm on, I will do somebody.
Okay. Once again, we appreciate the time you spent listening to us. You can catch us on our Google Plus page at NC_speak_EZ, and we'll post the link out on Facebook and Twitter for anybody who wants to listen to the knuckleheads do this. Once again, this is JN thanking everybody for listening. Marcus, Paul, thanks for joining in, and we'll see you some other time. Take care,
Bye-bye.
folks.